Welcome to Totally Talent Podcast by HR.com, your go-to source for all things talent. Whether you're looking for expert insights on high-volume hiring, the latest trends in recruitment technology, or strategies for building a winning team, we've got you covered. Join us for each episode as we dive deep into the challenges and opportunities shaping the talent landscape today. Let's get started.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to another edition of Totally Talent on HR.com. I'm your host, Mike Wood, and I have a very special guest, or a couple of guests today. We're going to learn all about SmartRecruiters, how they turn things around, and I'm just really looking forward to this conversation because I'm wondering how you guys turn things around. So if you want to just introduce yourself to our audience, that would be great.
Sure. I'm Rebecca Carr. I'm the CEO of SmartRecruiters. And I'm Shiran Yaroslavsky. I'm SVP Product.
So I'm just going to put you in a let's go back a couple of years. Let's go back like 2022, 2023. SmartRecruiters, just another ATS, along with a whole bunch of other people that are all claiming for the same things, but wasn't really doing that well. Times are tough. You had a different idea and you said, I'm going to throw out the playbook and go AI first. Tell me about how that all happened.
Yeah. Well, so I'll start by saying that post-pandemic, post 2021, aside from sort of the general market volatility, I think that the ATS market as a whole stagnated, largely because of maybe some of the financial investments that they were making. They couldn't accelerate. They were being asked to find more efficiency because of the pullbacks and the reduction in growth that they were seeing. And R&D did not really accelerate. You layer onto that the fact that 10 years of an ATS were being built and not a lot had changed about the core workflow of that ATS. Like, it was beautiful when it came out in 2010. I worked for JobVite as well back in the day. And they were kind of the hot thing. And then there was Greenhouse and SmartRecruiters was in the mix. But they were all kind of doing the same thing with a slightly different UI, a prettier UI, I guess you could say. But they kept just layering feature on top of feature and feature, and that creates a lot of feature bloat. So you have these really bloated, feature-filled products. You have a market that is stagnating, not growing as quickly, and you have CFOs going, find efficiency. We need to be profitable. We need to find margins, and all of that creates just this massive stall in the market. I came back to the company around that moment in 2023 as the chief product officer at the time. And AI was becoming a more commonplace thing for us to all go and invest in and talk about. You started to see what Shiran likes to call like AI fairy dust appear across all these applications.
What was behind the background is now suddenly coming out.
Yeah, or job description generators, interview scorecard, like little Gen AI add-ons that just made people more efficient. And what I think I realized, I hired Shiran about 1 or 2 months after I started myself. What we both realized, I think, was that was not going to fundamentally change the way that people recruited, and that AI was much more powerful. It could eliminate a lot of that feature bloat, bring better adoption back to the ATS workflow, and truly deliver customers the outcomes that they were looking for, which was smarter, faster hiring. And so we were sitting in an offsite in Rome because we're a very remote company. We have a lot of people overseas, and we were talking about what we should do. And we locked a bunch of people in a room, and we said, let's dream up something like super big that no one thinks we're going to do. That just who cares what our current code and our current product does? Just throw it up away. And out came several ideas. I'm not going to share them all because you never know when we might have to bring those back. But several ideas, one of which was Winston. And we followed up that offsite with a meeting in Copenhagen with our engineering leaders about 4 weeks later. And I said, you know what? Why don't we stop what we are doing entirely? Every single feature, every single investment. We put the engineers on essentially productivity investments to sharpen the axe so that we could move really, really, really fast once we have great products to bring to market. Take every single product manager and designer, put them in groups, and have them spend 3 months talking to as many customers as humanly possible about what the world of AI could look like. designing a product in Winston. We will announce it in 90 days. So I put like really tight timelines on it. We will announce it in 90 days.
They missed that deadline.
And they did it. And we designed Winston and we launched Winston. And then for 9 months, they went heads down and built it and released it in iterations. And we had customers who were part of the discovery process that were starting to implement it with us. And long gone were our quarterly releases and the old feature roadmap, but was this like new, very collaborative, very customer first investment, taking advantage of great technology that was coming to market in AI, in conversational experiences, in adaptive experiences. And our customers loved it.
I'm glad that you led with the customers, because a lot of times, like companies will try to guess. Just listen to them. They're practically screaming what they need.
Mhm.
On like, either at your yearly conference, either at time to renew the whole relationship. They're trying to tell you what they want.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we actually, one of the things we were most scared about was we were like, who's going to tell the customers we're not going to do the fall release? Because this decision was made in July and we were going to do a release at the end of October. And we were just like, oof, we're not going to do that release. And we're going to have to send a comm. And there's people that were waiting for features that they really wanted and expected. And to be honest, the message that we brought to them, which was, we could keep doing this, but none of this will help you. We need to change the way that we work. You need to change the way you work, and we're going to do it together. And you're going to sit with us every single step of the way, and we're going to figure this out, and we're going to do something bigger than what we have all dreamed up until this point. And their reaction was, "Thank you, good, let's do it." And like that, like they didn't hesitate. They leaned in. I mean, how many customer calls and things like that?
We had around 60 interviews in less than 3 months.
Yeah.
We did it.
Like big customer discovery sessions,
Good.
feedback.
There's so
loops,
many
and
companies that don't do that, that don't like just sit and ask them what they actually want. They're
Oh,
the
yeah.
best market right there.
Oh, and they got excited, and here we are today. And that momentum and that energy is frankly not just breathing life back into the market and into our customers, but into our team. I mean, when you sit and work on a product for a decade plus, and you're just continuing to kind of do the same thing, add a new button, move it to the left, add a new filter, add a new capability to an admin configuration
Yeah.
page. Like, it's not to say that isn't interesting. It's facilitating hiring, which is exactly why we're here and why we bring products to market, but it's not actually helping us get that much closer to our vision as a business, which is to make hiring easy. It's actually making hiring a lot harder. And so I think our team going, okay, wait a second, we're actually going to go re-anchor on a vision here. And what would hiring look like today if we wanted to make it really easy? Would look like this.
So you had the big Winston AI event, and that was earlier this year, right? I think it was February or something like that. But it was clear to me, and so I'm someone who sees like the press releases all the time. I've been on the vendor side.
Yeah.
You were actually excited about it, and that was really refreshing to see, I guess. And it sounds like I'm pumping your tires and stuff, but I was just really excited that you guys were as excited, and it was palpable.
Yeah.
And you could see it on the camera, because I think I wrote about it every Friday in the wrap. I write about this stuff, but I think I wrote about it that like there were other competitors of yours that were announcing things, and no one was excited except for the one guy in the press release.
I mean, Shiran, yeah, that experience of that launch was pretty cool. And I know your team was excited to be a part of it.
Yeah, I think, as Rebecca mentioned, the team was for a long time was more focused on building very specific features and incremental improvements and introducing some big vision and then be able to deliver on that. Some of the folks were a bit skeptical at the beginning. Can we do it like in that timeline? So ambitious? And we did it. And so I think it's a very empowering moment for R&D. So
So tell our listeners what that led to.
Mhm.
Big acquisition.
I'm sure it contributed.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I think the the anchor on something new and different and exciting, and the customer momentum that was created around that was very attractive to SAP. SAP is a market leader, well over $350 billion in market cap. They have incredible reach. They have amazing customers, amazing brands, but they have a very broad suite of products. And recruiting, though they have a solution that has significant capability and is quite robust, I think what they realized is that they needed to also pump some life into that. And they came to us, not just for our product and what it could do for their portfolio and their suite, but also for the talent and the excitement and the strategic vision that we were laying out there. They said, we want to be a part of that. We want to add to that. We want to make it that much bigger and amplify what that vision could look like on top of a core HR platform. And that was exciting for us because, I mean, honestly, as product leaders, there is nothing you want more in an acquisition than for your product to live on and be accelerated. I mean, what can happen in a lot of acquisitions? It's a customer acquisition and you sort of are pushed off to the side. It's a product acquisition that's very poorly integrated. And Dan Beck, who leads product for SuccessFactors, first of all, he himself was a founder that sold his business in 2022. He knew what it was like to build a startup and to be more agile and to be disruptive. And he wanted to preserve that energy within SmartRecruiters. And frankly, our employees loved this. They leaned into it. They got very excited about it. And they're excited for this next chapter. They're all really, really jazzed to now have this closed and to build a roadmap that's going to be.
So I love that, like, you came from the product side and elevated up to the CEO. It gives all the product people out there, it gives you some hope that you can go beyond just the head of product. How was it convincing, like, the board and whatnot? Because even though you're inside with the company, you're outside in terms of, like, elevating product to that level. Like, did you hit any roadblocks or anything?
Well, did you hear, Mike? It's the rise the product CEO these days. So,
Yeah.
by the way, Shiran was the CEO before she came to me too.
Oh,
She's a product leader. I obviously am a CEO now, but like even Adam Dodson from Paradox,
Yep.
product CEO. Athena, a founder, a product person, rising. Like there are great product leaders that have risen to that moment, and I think what a better moment than right now. My point around stagnation, in order to sort of dig yourself out of something that is like that, just ingrained, that workflow that's just so legacy and so known, and a customer base that's maybe hesitating to understand what's next or to lean into what's next, the best way to do that and to spur growth of a position of real market leadership. And I'm not so sure I needed to convince them. I sort of just did.
that's awesome.
Like I came in as an interim, so a lot of C-level executives stepped down from the business. I think 5 all at once from SmartRecruiters back in early 2023. I stepped in a moment of reboot and reset, and was in an interim seat. And I sort of took the position that I need to respond and act as if I have the permanent job. I need to put a vision out there, an operating plan out there. I need to rally my teams around a moment as if I was going to be the person that is next, because I want to be the person that is next. And when they see that, they will give me that opportunity. And 6 months later, that's what happened. So.
And it's not lost on me that, like, you came from within the HR tech,
Many years.
like many years.
Yes.
And that there's a lot of companies in the HR tech space that will go and get the CEO that comes in from like, let's say, a mortgage company or something like that, and you're just like, what? How is this person gonna do anything? But with you, it's just natural. So,
Well, it helps to know the space.
yeah.
Like, yeah, I mean, I will say that it's not just knowing the partner and vendor ecosystem. There's great talent that sits within HR tech that we were able to bring into our business. Our executive team is very ingrained in that. but it also just helps to really understand the buyer and the customer and their journey over the last decade, and to have been there with them in the seat. That's not something you can learn very easily. You have to have listened to it along the way. And frankly, many of the customers, I was joking with one of our customers not too long ago. She was one of my customers at JobBite. And then SmartRecruiters took the JobBite account. And then so they moved. And then now she's been with SmartRecruiters for like 8 years or something like that. And I'm like, wow, I have literally known you for like 11, 12 years as a customer on the other side of the table, and seen her career develop and grow. And that's a really powerful thing, to have those relationships and to frankly have that advocacy and support from a community of buyers that want to see their vendors be successful, because when their vendors are successful, they're successful. And I think that has certainly contributed to our success, is that know-how.
So I have a nerdy kind of product development question, because last year everybody was all about Gen AI. And so you would hear these announcements like, we got a job description generator. Fantastic. Awesome. That's not going to really change my life that much, but whatever. This year you go through the expo hall and you see agentic AI everywhere. And things are moving so fast that I'm seeing all these companies that put their stake in the ground that said, okay, at HR Tech, we're going to announce that we have this AI interview chatbot. And it's like, no one cares anymore because things have moved so fast. They're already moved past it. So how do you plan when everybody's like using the new AI tools and it's changed everything? I just want to get like insight, like how do you plan for what's next?
Yeah. So I think what's important also as a product leader is to identify the right problems we want to solve. We don't want to give up to the chase around, AI and just, develop something just so you can say you have something with AI, right?
Yeah.
So what Rebecca mentioned back then, that we interviewed dozens of customers who really identify the right problems that we want to solve. And so I think this is the first step of it. And then thinking how you're building in a way that not only serving what customers want today, but also what they will need in 3, 5, even 10 years from now. So how you're building the right foundations, how you're truly designing agentic experience with the right data in place. So it's not going to be a one-off and then, the audience will move to something else. You're really building for generating impact.
Yeah. And not just have it, but actually have the user experience be one that isn't completely frustrating. That I've seen at some competitors.
Or not to tangent it, but no user experience, which is like a big thing that we're anchoring on right now, which is this idea that a lot of the recruiting workflow does not require a UI when agents drive it. So the only interactions that a user would thus need to take are decisions in the hiring workflow. And where could those decisions happen? Yes, they could happen in recruiting an ATS platform, but they could also happen in Slack and Teams and SMS and WhatsApp. And what we say no ego UI. Like, how do we build products with no ego about what we need to own from a branding perspective and an experience perspective? We're delivering an outcome, and people will adopt products that where they see impact and value. And we will be rewarded as a product for delivering that value, not because we were green instead of red or had a button on the right or the left. And I think we've been very intentional in thinking about our technology strategy that way. But to all the great things that Shiran just said, I think that we have trained ourselves to think that hiring is built upon a set of, for lack of a better phrase, like containers. I have a CV, that's a container. I have a job, that's a container. I do an interview with a scorecard, that's a container. And the reality is that the way people work, where they work from, the type of the status of that work, be it gig or contract or permanent, is going to change really fundamentally as the world changes around us. And so if you continue to design products with this idea that the containers will live on forever, then you're failing to see 3 or 5 steps ahead. So to Shiran's point, starting from like, what am I trying to solve? I need to find people. You can find people a lot of different ways. You don't need a job to do that. You don't need a CV to do that. They can be vehicles by which you identify and understand people. And so they're not necessarily thrown out the window. But if you start from the problem space, it gets a lot easier to build 3 steps ahead than starting with a product and saying, how can I make this better to achieve this result? And we've taken a very different approach in doing that.
So I got to ask, for the future of SAP and Smart Recruiters, what's next? Just how do you plan on moving things forward? You don't have to, like, this isn't breaking. I know made it sound like breaking news, but I'm just curious, like, how you move.
What's next? Well, to be perfectly honest with you, we are really focused on continuing on our innovation journey. We have a roadmap that's very compelling. And we're going to actually be talking about it at a lot of conferences over the next couple of weeks here. Shiran, myself, we want to keep investing there. I'm sure we will have one hell of an integration to SuccessFactors, like a really good one that's super productized, and not just, to SuccessFactors and like the basic workflows like jobs and candidates and config and things like that, but also like all the cool SAP products that surround it, from Joule to Business Data Cloud, that are powering other large modules within the SAP ecosystem. So that will, I'm sure, exist. But we're also going to remain agnostic in our own right and continue to provide the value of Winston to people that are maybe non-SAP customers. And so in order to do that, we have to keep our eye on the prize, and we have to keep pushing it forward. And frankly, SAP's investment in us is only going to accelerate that with more firepower toward getting to that bigger vision. And I think Shiran and I feel really confident that the product organization is going to be great advocates for us in that journey within SAP, and will continue to push us.
It really is a really good story for the industry as a whole, in that, the people that care about this industry, that have worked at, various vendors, but like HR Tech, and know that they can help solve this problem, can elevate to the point where success. And you would always be able to look back on that and say, I trusted my gut, and here's where we are. So thank you both for joining me. And thank you all for listening to us.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks for tuning in to the Totally Talent podcast by HR.com. We hope you find today's episode insightful and inspiring. Don't forget to explore more episodes and discover valuable resources at hr.com/podcasts, where you can listen to all of our podcasts. Until next time, keep leading with purpose and making a difference in the world of talent.